The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
And tonight we're asking you,
what are you afraid of?
To all things in the universe, there is a dark side. Don't you think?
I 100% agree with you, Fox.
Mm-hmm. And that 100% has a negative 100%.
A negative 100%?
Because it's a dark side.
Oh, dark side.
Yes. Easter's coming up, or Ostara for us pagans.
Yes.
And we have heard tales in the deep web of an evil bunny. Have you heard of this?
I have heard of it. He resides in the deep web.
And he comes out at Ostara or Easter time to steal candy.
I think I've seen him once.
Did you?
Yeah.
When did you see him?
I was a kid.
Okay.
You know, when you're a kid, the Easter Bunny comes and brings you all your goodies and hides them around your house.
Yes.
Well, I had an Easter basket and I had a bunch of candy.
Okay.
It was Easter night.
All right.
And I had everything collected in my basket. And then as I was sitting on the couch, I noticed in the dining room this fluffy bunny with red eyes. Coming for my Easter basket.
Okay.
And when I jumped up and ran in, he was gone, and so was my candy.
I have heard that he collects human legs for good luck.
I've heard that too. I think I scared him away, though.
How'd you scare him away?
Well, when I ran in, I heard a squeak, and then I turned the light on, he was gone, and my candy was gone. Like I said, it was nowhere to be found, and I missed out on all my candy. My parents thought I ate it all. I said, no, the evil Easter Bunny took it.
Yeah, my wife's tried to use that on me a few times. The evil Easter Bunny, and I'm like, it just ain't happening. I have heard tell that he's usually in a bad mood after having a binge all night.
Mm.
He goes out there, he parties, and then, he shows up on Easter, he's just in a bad mood, he's got a terrible hangover, and he's got a thing for candy.
Yeah.
But he's also a mass murderer.
He's a mass murderer. And is he hungover on alcohol, or is he hungover on sugar?
I think it's both.
From eating candy.
I think it's those sugary drinks.
Okay.
Like when you go to the bar and play Candy Shop?
Yeah.
Those wonderful candy drinks?
Mm.
Oh, man, I love that.
They're good, aren't they?
Shout out to Rose Stallone. Took us to Candy Shop one time, me and my friend John. This is episode 40.
Yes, it is. Episode 40.
Evil Bunny. Yeah, because he's out there somewhere. We don't actually believe in him.
No. Well, I do.
Do you? Okay, well, you've seen him, but I don't believe him.
I've seen him.
We've had Krampus on the show.
We did have Krampus on the show.
Obviously. There's no such thing as the evil Mr. Floppy Wigs, bloody, killer, cannibal bunny.
Peter Rottentail.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm going to chill up my spine. He's around her. Anyway, I'm T. Fox Dunham.
And I'm Phil Thomas.
And we are back at What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Para X Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. And you can also find us on most or all major podcasting services. Giving a shout out to Bill. Bill's on his way to work.
Hello, Bill.
Hey, Bill.
How you doing, Bill?
Hope you're finally not having to deal with snow.
I know, right?
We had that snowstorm.
Oh, my God, I know.
We did the Irish episode.
You're right. We did the Irish episode, and then the snow screwed everything up.
It blocked us down. We were stuck.
Did you have to do any shoveling?
I'm not allowed to.
Oh, you're not allowed to, okay.
No, not with my heart.
Okay.
So that's my get out of shoveling free card.
I would say you're lucky, but you're not with the heart. But it took me 2.5 hours to shovel out the front and back.
Yeah, it has its benefits at times. So we're have to pay some snot-nosed kid to do it for us in the future.
Right. But so it was, and it wasn't. I know you didn't shovel, but I can tell you right now, it was like that heavy snow.
That heavy, icy.
It was,
yeah.
And it was a lot, and I remember lifting the first. I thought it was going to be light and fluffy or whatever. I remember lifting that first bundle, and I was like, "Holy crap!" And I just looked out at the whole driveway, and I was like, this is going to be tough.
Right.
Jeez.
Light and fluffy.
2.5 hours later, I finally finished, and I was really hurting, you know?
Like one evil bunny.
Right.
That we've heard tale of. But, good show. Episode 40.
Best show ever.
David Walton, our British folk singer. Congratulations to his significant other, she'll know why, has done an excellent ghost story for us with some singing in it called Lady Howard's Coach. And this is part of a collection of ghost stories that he got from Devon, which is an area of England in the south, right off Cornwall, right below the south of Wales. And it's a beautiful location on the sea. And it makes me think of a ghost story that I'd heard there, where, let's say you're traveling from Princetown to Two Bridges, and you pass through a remote, desolate moorland. There's a lot of moors down there. And you feel this tremor come over you, even on the brightest of summer days. And it's said that in 1921, there was a medical officer at the nearby Dartmoor prison. He was riding his motorcycle along the stretch of road when he descended the hill where a little bridge takes you over a road over the East Dart, which is a river there. And he suddenly swerved, causing his motorbike to, kill him instantly, probably avoiding a bunny. Not long afterwards, there was an army officer, a similar accident, basically at the same spot. And you think of bridge, you think trolls, which are very common in Welsh mythology. They're called bogarts, and they have other names. Witnesses said something grabbed his hand and forced him into the accident. And then finally, it was reported from a couple that they parked their caravan on the same spot on the bridge on the River Dart. And the wife woke up, and get this, there was a big hairy hand clawing its way up the outside of the window. Legend said she made the sign of the cross, and the demonic digits disappeared, which is a common folklore alteration. She may have done something pagan or just yelled at it or something, and it went away, but it's known as the hairy hands of Devon.
Wow.
And this is from the area where David lives. It's beautiful on the sea down there. Anyway, let's jump to David's Lady Howard's Coach, and we will be back.
Your source for everything paranormal. Para-X.
Lady Howard's Coach. Drawn from several sources and compilations. Read, played and sung by David Walton. Back in the 17th century, Lady Howard was a woman who possessed great force of character and managed her estates admirably, in spite of having a succession of greedy and spendthrift husbands. However, most of her tenants lived in Tavistock, and they preferred to represent her as a rapacious monster. They said that she had married 4 men. That was true. They said she had murdered every one of them. That wasn't true. She was also accused of doing to death several notable members of the town who died under questionable circumstances. If you need proof of her abominations, simply go to the gate of her former house at Pittsburgh towards the midnight hour. As the clock strikes 12, in howling blizzard or warm, gentle summer, it is said that Lady Howard drives out of the portal in a coach made entirely of human bones. They are the bones of her dead husbands, and at each corner of the coach one of their skulls grins out by way of embellishment. She drives up West Street towards Dartmoor, and in front of the grisly coach runs a large jet-black hound, which accompanies her all the way to Oakhampton and back across the moor to Tavistock once again. This nightly journey is Lady Howard's penance for all of the evil deeds she committed during her life, and the hound's part is to pluck a single blade of grass at Oakhampton each night and carry it back to lay on a stone in the courtyard of Old Fitsford House. By this means, when all of the grass in Oakhampton has been conveyed to Tavistock, the penance of the evil old Lady Howard will cease. My lady's coach hath nodding plumes, the driver hath no head. My lady is an ashen white, like one that is long dead. Now pray step in, my lady saith, now pray step in and ride. The carriage rolls on without a sound, or tramp or turn of wheels, as cloud at night in pale moonlight along the carriage steals. I'd rather walk 100 miles and run by night and day than have that carriage halt for me and hear my lady say, now pray step in and make no din, step in with me to ride. There's room, I trow, by me for you and all the world beside. For many generations, all of the Tavistock residents who found themselves lingering in the town as midnight approached, hurried and flurried on home to avoid witnessing the frightful woman, Carriage, and Hound.
Are you haunted by shadow people in the middle of the night?
Do you secretly love all things creepy and spooky, enjoying ghost stories and horror fiction from the best storytellers?
Do you have a true ghost experience you want to share, but no one will believe you?
If yes, listen to the professionals on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror Paranormal Show, Friday nights at 9 p.m. on Para-X Radio and at www.whatareyouafraidofpodcast.com.
What Are You Afraid Of on Para-X?
Our creepy and demented hosts are on call to provide you with all your spooky needs with true ghost stories, interviews, indie music, and new horror fiction. We are ready to scare you.
Para-X.
My name is Greg Bakken. I'm a writer, a producer, and a paranormal investigator. My favorite way of communicating with spirits is through using the spirit box, also known as a ghost box. I invite you to listen to me every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Central for interviews with people in the paranormal community and beyond. Plus, I will also include as much of my spirit box evidence as I can during my show.
My name is Greg. Can you say Greg? Can you say Jeff? Greg. Jeff.
Join me every Wednesday at 10 p.m. Central Time for Minnesota Ghost Box, only on Para-X Radio.
Oh, evil bunny.
Oh, yes.
Lord of the hop. Do not take my feet and add them to your crop. Don't spill our blood over your fur so bright, and turn the downy fur all red and white.
Oh. I just got chills.
Hopefully that'll keep him away.
I got chills. I don't know about you.
I got chills writing it. You know, it's speaking of pagan incantations. Easter is Ostara. You know, that's an original pagan holiday. March 21st, 22nd, the spring equinox. The colors are generally associated with it as a yellow disc, or colored eggs, or white decorations, or spring flowers, obviously. And I mean, you can see how the word Easter came from Ostara.
Right.
You know, it was borrowed, again, like many of the pagan holidays. And it's sort of celebrating the end of winter. It's a time of childish wonder, painted eggs and baskets of flowers and chocolate bunnies. Where do you think these things came from? They're about fertility.
Yeah. we're springing into a different season.
Right.
And we're coming out of the cold. We're coming out of the snow, the dark. Mm-hmm. It's staying light longer. Personally, I'm happy about that. I mean, we got daylight savings now. So.
Yes, I know. I love the light. It's getting warmer. It's going to be warm on Saturday. Allison and I love this time of year.
It's going to be like 70 on Saturday.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
And we got to do some fishing this year.
We do. We really need to.
When does that start? I think we had these big plans last summer to go fishing.
I wasn't well. Things just didn't balance out with Allison. But fishing season has started. Obviously, you just need to renew your license.
Yeah, I know.
At the turn of the year, it's trout season. We need to hit.
Okay.
Because we're not allowed to fish when they're stocking them.
Mm. Yeah.
If you do, it's a violation.
Right.
So it's different for each lake, but it'll be about April, May when we can really start hitting the water. And the water's too cold right now.
Right.
Their metabolisms are down.
Maybe we can start like end of April.
Yeah, I think so. Depends how warm the weather gets, and we'll just have to check.
I actually don't mind it if it's like, 70, 71. Actually, I prefer that as opposed to like 98 degrees,
Well, you've been keeping busy with your movies now in the winter times. What have you been doing?
We got the few short films up our YouTube channel.
Yes.
Which is Film Zero Presents. Please check it out.
Direct links on www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com to check out Phil's movies.
Yes. Short-Term Effect was the first one we put up. The Following Man. I just put up these trailers for a feature-length screenplay that I wrote called 3 Tunnels.
Right.
I did a little introduction for them. And, it's kind of like Stand By Me meets Goonies.
Yeah.
With a little bit of Stranger Things.
Right.
But I did write the screenplay for 3 Tunnels before Stranger Things even was out, way before it was out.
Yeah. Phil's a hipster.
Yeah. I'm also a psychic, I predicted the success of Stranger Things. No, but it's, it takes place in the 80s. It's kids. It involves a BB gun, some poor decisions. Mm-hmm. So interesting things happen. So
the great lament of authors everywhere is that they thought of it, they just couldn't sell it in time.
Right.
Yeah.
But with the success of Stranger Things, there's a market for that now.
Yeah, there is.
I mean, there's always been a bit of a cult status with Goonies and with Stand By Me and with those, with E.T. and those kind of 80s, films. And I think Stranger Things kind of resurrected that.
Right.
Which is, in my opinion, a very good thing. So
I know you love the genre.
Yeah, I do love the genre. Also we got another film coming out soon called Doppelganger.
Right.
We just shot it. I finished editing it. Just got to add some music and some color grading. And that'll be up on our channel.
Which we'll have links to.
Very soon, yes.
At www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com. You can watch all these films in the trailer there.
That's right.
On the film channel we have up there.
My channel is called Film Zero Presents.
Perfect.
Please subscribe. And Fox, what do you have going on right now?
Just getting some writing done. A couple of anthologies coming out. Working on a couple of books for a few different publishers. Congratulations to Max Booth at PMMP for Castle Rock Podcast. Stephen King-based podcast. Yeah. They're working on their second episode now.
That's wonderful.
So they've joined the fray.
That's wonderful.
But before we continue, I'm happy to announce that on this show, on this episode, episode 40, Killer Bunny, we have some clown news.
It's back.
Cue the jingle.
Clown news.
It would seem that as it's getting warmer out, the clowns are starting to thaw.
Yeah.
This was sent to us by BJ, our good friend Ceiling Cat at Para X Radio. It's from West Mifflin, so the Pittsburgh area, always Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
But at one point in February and March, there were extra police patrolling West Mifflin after these 2 guys started chasing these kids dressed as clowns. Not the kids were dressed as clowns. The guys were dressed as clowns.
Right.
In this woods. And one of them had a stick, and the other one had a gun.
Mm.
And the kids come running back on this Saturday afternoon. They were playing on Lauder Street. They were playing hide-and-go-seek in the woods. It was around 4:15. These kids come running back to the house, and they're screaming at their parents. This 8-year-old kid of West Mifflin, he's yelling, "They're chasing us!" The dad, when Michael of West Mifflin, said that my kid came running into the house and said there were 2 guys chasing him. And the kids were like, screaming, and the dad's like, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
And they said 2 guys in clown masks. One had a gun, and one had a stick. And the dad's like, "Really?"
Mm.
Figuring it was clown hysteria.
Yeah. Right.
Which is what I thought.
Exactly.
Reading this, the kids were playing, they got too excited, they're running in, they're screaming. Well, they screamed enough, and the dad finally said, "Alright, fine." He went out to the woods, and he goes to this hill, and he looks over, and guess what? There are two guys in clown masks running up the side of the hill, one with a gun, one with a stick. The dad saw them.
Oh my goodness.
And the dad starts yelling at them, what the heck are you doing?
Right.
And they didn't respond.
Yeah.
And just kept running up the hill. So he calls 911, and the police, with the dad's verification, go searching for them, and couldn't find them.
Right.
This was an actual thing.
Yeah.
This was verified. These weren't kids saying they were clowns. So I'm getting a little bit worried here, Phil.
Yeah. That's really odd. That's... What would you do, personally, if you witnessed a clown sighting? Like, if you saw...
Oh, I'd have my camera on 3 seconds.
Okay.
See, we're biased.
Yeah.
I mean, I need proof right away. I'm like, oh my god, there's really a clown in the woods chasing me. I'd be like, running, panting with my heart, and I'd have to pause like every 3 seconds and snap a picture.
It's like Bigfoot, right?
Right.
You know, like a sighting, a Sasquatch.
Right, exactly. It's the clowns in the woods.
Right.
And I'd be like, oh man, I'm gonna make you so famous, please don't kill me, you know?
I'm gonna make you famous, you know,
Yeah.
you know, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah, make sure, before you kill me, I need to send these photos off. Just give me a second, there's no signal here. Would you mind running into town with me?
I gotta hit a Starbucks with some Wi-Fi.
Right.
Exactly.
Starbucks over there. Just right. I'm gonna get a coffee too. You want anything, Mr. Biggles? You know, it's kind of like, oh, just don't kill me. But there's some good clown news. In London, a group of clowns wearing oversized shoes, bow ties, and bowler hats, they entered a church in a semi-solemn procession, and the pews filled up with all these clowns. You should see the pictures. Dear Lord, thank you for calling me to share your precious gift. For 70 years now, the clowns have lined the pews of an East London church in tribute to their late master, Joseph Grimaldi. And he apparently was some famous clown who transformed the role and appearance of the comic performer in the 18th century, and he delighted everybody, including Charles Dickens.
Wow.
Isn't that nice?
That's very nice.
So the clowns got together and said, it's a shame with all these terrible clown sightings. They've had cancellations like crazy.
Wow.
People have been promoting the hysteria, and I guess we're guilty of it.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think awareness is important.
Right, it is. Clowns are the catalyst to laughter, they said. And as Charlie Chaplin said, a day without laughter is a day wasted.
Oh, I like that.
That's our clown news.
I like that. A day without laughter is a day wasted.
Right.
What was that other saying? If you're not wasted, the day is. Did you ever hear that one?
I just did. Okay. That's a Philism. That's our Phil, everyone.
I can't take credit for that.
That's our Phil.
It was actually on a T-shirt I used to see down Wildwood.
I was going to say that's a Wildwood shirt.
That's a Wildwood shirt. If you're not wasted, the day is. Yeah. I was like 13 or something. I'm like, hey, Dad, can you get me that? He's like, hell no. So I said, okay.
Yeah.
So.
Have you heard about these internet things happening?
A little bit.
This plague doctor video?
Yeah.
That's
website, creepy.
The website Gadget's got this, and if you look at it, I know this image well, I've used it. He's dressed in a 17th century plague outfit when they look like giant crows.
Right.
With the goggles and the nose full stuffed with incense and the big leather cloaks, and they look like, and the hats, and they look like giant crows. They look like that.
Do you know I have a mask like that?
Do you?
I have a very expensive one.
Oh my god, that's expensive. I know I used to.
It was like plaster, and it ties around.
Yeah.
And it's probably about a foot.
Yeah.
Maybe it goes out about a foot. I got a very upscale one. It's not a cheap one you would get at like some corner store Halloween place, you know. I'll bring it over sometime.
Please. The cone is designed to burn incense because in 17th century medicine they believed the plague was caused by bad air.
Yeah. Right.
You've heard the term malaria. They believed it was mal air.
Well, it was rats, right?
Well, rats, back then. But they believed so they would burn all this incense everywhere in pools of software to try to keep the bad air away from them. So the doctors would wear these nose cones full of burning incense to breathe it in. And it actually protected them from the fleas, this outfit they wore. So empirically it worked.
Yeah.
But there's this guy called the Plague Doctor, and nobody knows who he is. And he leaves all these weird codes and splice videos and in titles with binary in them, like the binary code translates to Marte, which is death, or red lips like 10th. It contains coordinates of the White House, and they think it's anti-Obama, or at least it was.
Right.
It's just weird, and nobody knows where it's coming from because they're hiding it.
Oh, wow.
This whole mythology. Now, I know you were interested in the deep web and Marianas web.
Yeah, that's like really some creepy stuff, you know.
Right, where 80% of the internet can't be reached.
Yeah, it can't be reached. You need to find exact web addresses
right.
for things. And if you can't search it, you know, how are you going to get it?
Yeah.
You know
right.
what I mean?
And then you've got tons of firewalls to get through.
Tons of fire. Yeah, you're right.
And this is where all the
security breaches and
this is where all the dark stuff happens.
Yeah, I was looking at those articles, and there's some really, really disturbing things. You know,
yeah,
like sex trafficking.
Yeah, and drug trapficking, sex trafficking, and it's pretty. This is where the stuff goes to get hidden.
Good Lord, yeah.
And nobody can get to it. Like it's just this deep web that lives under Google.
Yeah,
like if Google's the top floor, this is hell.
Right. Yeah. That's a yeah, I like that.
That's and then people in the deep web say there's something called Marianas Web, based on Marianas Trench.
Which is even deeper, right?
Which is like the deepest you can go, and they say you can only get in there using a polymeric Fossil derivation, some sort of algorithm used by quantum computers.
Isn't it like its existence is not proven?
Right. No, no one's been there.
Yeah, no one's been there. Yeah.
And imagine if you get there. Now, what really
coming back
really blew me away was Cicada 3301.
Right.
I had no idea this thing existed.
I didn't either.
It's some sort of code. Like, it actually looks like a cicada picture that came out. No one knows where it came from, but it's some sort of riddle called Cicada 3301. And apparently it's a recruiting riddle. If you can solve the first puzzle, this is very fringe, by the way. If you can solve the first puzzle, then they send you to this location, like a physical location you actually have to go to, like another state, and they give you another puzzle in a secret location you have to solve. And it's all based on poetry and philosophical references like Carl Jung, Godel, or even like William Gibson or William Blake, and it uses all these different ciphers. And no one can really claim that they've beaten it.
Wow.
And there's a lot of theories going around as to what it is. Some people claim that it's a secret hacker group that's trying to recruit the only intelligent. Some people claim that it's a cult promoting philosophies of emptiness and meaningless, or Ubermensch, or the existence of a global brain that's made up of all living things. They don't know.
Wow. Do you think it exists? What is your opinion? Do you think it's real, or do you think it's just something that, you know...
I think, well, if you look
somebody made up. If
you look at the history of things like the Illuminati and the Masons, the Freemasonry, these things existed.
I know they did, yeah.
I mean, America's loaded with Freemasonry. Right. It's in fact, there was an anti-Mason political party that founded. Oh. And why not on the internet?
Yeah, that's true.
That need for elitism.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
People want to be elite. People want to be a members-only club. And then they gather together in secret, and in that conspiracy, they start pushing an agenda. We see it all the time in political parties and stuff.
Right.
I really think that's what it is. Anyway, so we have a story tonight from John Foster. Wonderful John Foster, who did Mr. White. He did this great story for us, and we have part one, read by his significant other, Linda Jones. And it's called Talk to Leo. And when that's done, we're going to play a song from a rockin' group I found. Actually, it's one guy called Pipe Choir. And the song is called A Dark Blue Ark. And I'll talk about them a little bit more when we come back. You ready for John's story? I hope the bunnies don't get us.
Oh, God.
Everybody here can easily understand.
Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
I sat in the leather guest chair and winced at the noise. The chairs are terrible, Dr. Remnick smiled. I like to think it gives me an edge. My answering grin must not have sold itself as genuine, and Dr. Remnick's own smile faded a bit. First rule of psychotherapy is that we sometimes need to see someone, too. I thought the first rule was never sleep with the patient, I said. Whoa, we're not here to read from the virtuous therapist. Takes all the fun out of things. He leaned back and his chair creaked its welcome to his weight. How are you, David? I assume you haven't stopped by just to give me an early birthday present. I shifted, ignoring my own chair's awful noises, and stretched my lips in another unconvincing smile as I placed a small box on Dr. Remnick's old-world desk. He raised one black eyebrow and opened it, tipping the box until the plastic novelty item slid onto his desk, chattery teeth that snapped closed upon impact and slowly opened again. I'd like to talk to you about a patient of mine, or rather, about a recent session we had. I gestured at the chattery teeth. But I would like you to take this after I leave and render it into atoms. The smile leached away from Dr. Remnick's saturnine features, and the raised eyebrow retreated into position. Destroy the fucking thing, I said, my expression finally achieving honesty. And don't tell me how. Why don't you tell me about the session? I pushed back my sleeves and fumbled cigarettes out of my pocket before remembering where I was and stuffing them back inside my jacket. His name was Leonid Prokofiev, but he asked to be called Leo. My mother called me Leo. 40 years old, and he goes by what his mother called him. He was a small, economical man, neatly dressed in a gray winter coat and a narrow-brimmed hat. He entered my office without speaking and sat, knees together, setting a rather large case of some kind down beside him. Everything about him spoke of a tidy mind, and he had already scheduled a session for the following week. "How are you, Mr. Prokofiev?" I asked. He murmured something and reached into his left coat pocket to produce the same set of plastic chattery teeth I brought today. And very much as I did with you, he asked me to get rid of them, though his low volume and accent challenged my listening skills. "Mr. Prokofiev, you'll have to forgive me," I touched my ear. "But my hearing isn't what it used to be. Could you speak up just a bit?" He held up his left hand in a halt gesture and undid the metal catches on the boxy case by his side. I have to tell you, I've been a therapist for 15 years, but this was a first. He pulled a ventriloquist's dummy from the case and set it on his knee, sliding his right hand up inside. It was a hideous thing with brightly rouged cheeks, enormous white teeth, and a grinning mouth, and wide, manic eyes. Still, when the dummy's jaw moved, the words it uttered, and I'd swear they came from the dummy and not the man, were as clear as church bells and entirely without accent. "Leo. His mother called him Leo," the dummy said. The dummy's head revolved to stare at Leo, whose own gaze was fixed on the floor. Then those big white eyes fixed on me. "Will this be all right? It will go much faster if I do the talking for both of us." "And who are you?" The dummy stared at me woodenly, pun not entirely intended, and said, "It's best if you just talk directly to Leo." "I can do that." "Leo, what seems to be the trouble?" The dummy's head swiveled with a sandpaper rasp and stared at the plastic novelty on my desk. "The damn teeth have come back. Leo has 14 sets of bed sheets. Each morning he pulls off the wet sheets and lets the rubber mat underneath air out," the dummy said. "It's not like he wets the bed or anything. He sweats. But changing the sheets isn't so hard. It's a single bed, you know, the same bed he had as a boy, so it goes pretty quickly." "Are you lonely?" I asked. The dummy did something that looked like a shrug. "He never has anyone over, but that's not his problem." "Leo, what seems to be the problem?" "Night terrors. These things have been kicking his ass since he was 10 years old." "Night terrors. I'm conversant with the literature, of course, but this was my first actual encounter with true terrors, and I asked Leo if he had ever seen a doctor about them in the past. "Sure he did," the dummy said. "He saw Dr. Mapes after his stepfather was killed, and then Dr. Baum." I was already half convinced I was dealing with some level of paranoid schizophrenia, and decided to push a little. "How did your stepfather die, Leo?" "They killed him," the dummy said, and cocked its head when I stared at Leo. "Not him. Them," it said, wooden jaws clacking. I glanced at the novelty teeth and shifted my eyes over to the dummy. "Why don't you tell me your name?" I said. "It's better if you just talk directly to Leo." "He was a drunk and a cheat and never liked Leo," the dummy said. "Used to knock him around to toughen him up, the son of a bitch." "Did the night terrors start when he came into the picture?" The dummy did that odd shrugging movement again. Beforehand, that's part of what the old man didn't like about Leo. Did all the normal asshole things like smashing Leo's nightlight, locking him overnight in the closet. Leo's mother tried to help, to draw him out. Even bought him a magic set when the kid actually showed interest in something. But the night terrors didn't go away, and Leo started to walk around like an old man. A kid 10 years old with bags under his eyes and lines on his face. His mother finally threw the bum out and got a restraining order against him. What was his name, the stepfather? I picked up a pencil. We don't speak his name, the dummy said. I'm not sure how a dummy can lose its smile since the expression was painted on, but its wide mouth had stretched that single millimeter that transforms a grin into a grimace. I remember feeling the goosebumps on the back of my arms, even though the heater was ticking away in the corner. The stepfather came back, didn't he? I said. Leo nodded, and the dummy spoke. He came back the same night Leo's mother died.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham, published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his the sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn.
We've all experienced messages from beyond the silver veil, whether we want to admit it or not. Some people take no notice, ignoring these outreaches. Others embrace them, seeing them as evidence of an expanded universe. Whether these stories frighten or comfort, we are reassured.
The mission of What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show is to explore the dark side through paranormal investigation, folklore, and the arts. The show is an audio magazine. We share true ghost stories, dark fiction, interviews with ghost hunters and indie authors, filmmakers, artists, and musicians. We discuss industry issues and offer support. We have a unique and varied theme that creates a show unlike others.
Our weekly show is featured on all major podcast services, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, and YouTube. We are a part of ParaX Radio.
We need your true ghost experiences. So write them down in an email, preferably under 2,000 words, which comes to about 3 or 4 typed pages, and send them to whatareyouafraidof117@gmail.com. Please don't attach them as a file. And don't worry about trying to write like Charles Dickens. Just tell us your story as if you were telling a friend. And if you're not sure if it's actually a ghost story or not, but it's still weird, send it anyway. Also send us your photos, EVPs, recipes, your thoughts, and any artwork.
Check out our website at www.whatareyouafraidof, whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com for our ghost story archives, articles, photos, and expanded material. And you can buy t-shirts, mugs, laptop covers, and animals apparently with our logo on it. Follow us at Twitter at PFWhatAfraidOf. That's PFWhatAfraidOf.
You cannot escape the darkness, so explore it with us now at
What Are You Afraid Of?
Your source for everything paranormal, Para X.
worms crawl in, the worms crawl out. They crawl all over your dirty snout, your chest. My name is David Walton. I am a vocal performer for What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show. And I have carried the burden of a terrible secret. I am actually what is offensively called a ghost. For years now I have concealed my ectoplasmic existence from my friends and family, in fear of a common prejudice against ghosts, or what we like to call the disembodied. I have existed frightened of being discovered, unable to do physical acts that the embodied take for granted, such as walking a squirrel, or drinking a glass of vitamin E milk fresh squeezed from a whale. I grew depressed and even considered acts of self-harm or reincarnation, which is suicide for the disembodied. Such movies as Ghostbusters and its sequels drove my feelings of disenfranchisement, and I began looking for help, only to encounter painful exorcisms in the houses I haunted. Then I met two good people, it says here, Fox and Phil, at What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal. And they helped me take control of my own life. Now, it is my choice whether I wish to make phantom bangs in the night, appear at the foot of your bed in darkness, or make your walls bleed. If you are a disembodied person like I am, and you're living a lie, What Are You Afraid Of? Can help you too. They are on at 9 p.m. on Friday nights at Paranormal Radio, leaving plenty of time for midnight haunting activities, and can be found on all major podcast services. Listen to their paranormal stories, interviews, humorous sketches and horror fiction to know that you are not alone. And if you are a member of the embodied, don't forget, you are only a single heart attack or tumour away from becoming one of us. This is David Walton. See you on the other side. Or as I call it, this side. And that is the end of a perfect day.
Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
John C. Foster, author of Mr. White, brings us Hart Island, a true ghost story of New York, one of many, we hope, of his paranormal investigations. On What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Paranormal Radio at 9 p.m. and all major podcast services.
Legend has it that if you had to get rid of a corpse in New York City, you dumped it in the East River, the body of water separating Manhattan from Brooklyn and Queens. Divers are still recovering bodies and even murder weapons to this day. Morbid, huh? But even uglier than what hides beneath the waves is what rises above them. Hart Island, the island of the dead. People call it the most haunted place in New York City, but nobody knows for sure because nobody is allowed to visit. To get to Hart Island, you have to die or find yourself in the notorious hellhole of Rikers Island, which send crews of prisoners over to Hart to tend the graves. More than 850,000 graves. The history of the small isle is a horror story made real. It was a POW camp during the Civil War, where hundreds of Confederate prisoners died. Later it was used to quarantine yellow fever victims, and in 1885, a women's insane asylum was built. Still later it was used as a reformatory for delinquent youth, a prison, a tubercularium, and a drug rehab facility. There are still structures standing on the island. Rotting and tumble-down things near the pier, which is marked with severe signs from the New York State Department of Corrections. To this day, paupers and people without families are dumped in mass graves by inmates with little ceremony or dignity, trenches that are reused once the bodies in their simple wooden coffins have had enough time to be consumed by the island. The dead include the homeless, mentally ill, drug-addicted, and children, many of them orphans. Hart is a grim ghost hunter's dream, but trespassing can land you up to 2 years in prison. The government does not want you to go there. Only a few press have been allowed on the island in carefully arranged tours, and even family members of the deceased, in the rare cases where they're known, can only visit a small gazebo on the island. It should be investigated, but we won't know what restless spirits lurk on Hart Island until a more enlightened society changes the law. This is John C. Foster reporting on the Island of the Dead in haunted New York.
Two very talented performers.
Very much.
John Foster.
That was great.
It's creepy.
Yeah,
Psychiatrists creep me out, number one.
I know.
Same with me. Then he brought in the marionette.
Yeah.
And you always get the Twilight marionette coming alive kind of story.
Right.
So we'll see what happens in part 2, coming up in the next few episodes.
Stay tuned. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and wonderful work from Pipe Choir. Let me tell you a little bit about them. This is a free license, by the way, and we talk to them. If it's owned, we get permission.
That's right.
They were a rock project formed in Cleveland, Ohio. It was founded by Michael J. Bostwick as a one-man project. Pipe Choir derives from a keyboard preset pipes in choir. And we have information about them on the website, and check them out. Some great stuff, some very nice people, some talented artists getting their stuff out there.
That's right.
You know that Peter Rottentail never showed up?
I'm a little disappointed.
No,
I thought he was.
Wait, something in the yard.
Oh, I think I see it.
Do you see that?
I think I see it.
Ladies and gentlemen, eggs, multicolored eggs, are emerging out of the ground, and they're cracking open, and it's spilling blood onto the grass.
Oh my god.
My father-in-law's going to have a fit. Do you see this?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a perfectly natural phenomenon.
The blood is actually... Yeah, this seems very natural.
Yeah, this is... We're not dead. No, he's hurt us.
The blood is pooling out.
It's pooling out, yeah, and it's spelling something.
Something... Yeah, what's that say?
Evil bunny.
Ooh.
Yeah, look at that. Someone just came in.
Do you... Yeah.
Allison, is that you?
Did you hear that?
Are you home?
I don't see her.
I see. Those look like two very large white ears.
It looks like
popping out behind the pipe organ.
Do you see the bloody little footprints?
Oh my god! There goes the carpet.
They look like little rabbit prints.
I'm sure it's a natural phenomenon.
I'm sure it is. This is
very.
There's an explanation for all this.
Very natural. Oh my God, Phil, your arm!
God!
God! Phil's arm has actually been sliced off by two giant incisors.
You boys think I don't exist, do you? Have some eggs and candy.
Fox, your leg!
Oh my God, it's gone. Phil, I'm so sorry. Allison.
Oh, get it off!
Get him off! Get him off!
Keith Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Book, a major motion picture based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was recently released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the Stargate anthology, Points of Origin, from MGM and Fandemonium Books. Mercy was recently released by Bloodbound Books. Fox is an active member of the Harvard Association. He's been published in hundreds of short stories and articles, and his motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time.
Phil Thomas resides in the suburbs of Philadelphia and is an author and filmmaker.
His screenplays have been produced into feature films such as False Face and Always from Darkness that are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon On Demand.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
You boys think I don't exist, do you? Have some eggs and candy.